the bartending position, once again with no training, no spirits education, no food history or food training, knew nothing. They throw you behind the bar, and I'll never forget. I tell this story all the time, just to tell everyone that anything is possible. You can start from nothing, and eventually be a top tier bartender. And the first cocktail order I got was a kettle and 7. All right, I knew what kettle was, vodka, but I didn't know what 7 was. I was like, I look around, and I look, and I see a lovely bottle that says 7 on it, Seagram 7. So I go, I guess these people like alcohol. I guess that's what they like to drink. So
oh my God.
kettle, bottle of Seagram 7, and just free pour, full confidence into the glass. And this is also going to the owner's best friend as well. So the owner's sitting there. And I kind of knew that something was wrong, but I was like, hey, man, let me just fake it till I make it. I hand him the drink, and then I do the old bartender thing where I turn around and I start polishing the glass just to look over to see if he's like, oh, that's a great drink. Good job. And he doesn't drink it for like 5 minutes. He's just sitting there talking to people. I'm like, come on, man. And then eventually he goes for the sip, and I'm like, and just spits it everywhere. And they're like, what did you give me? I go, kettle and 7. And they're like, what's 7? I was like, that bottle right there.
Wow.
Like, do you know what you're doing? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. No one trained me. I don't belong here. And then I learned through process evaluation and being embarrassed to study really hard. So from there, I opened a restaurant in Miami. And then from Miami, I started working for a restaurant with Food and Wine magazine called Chef's Club. We opened a restaurant in Aspen, Colorado. Then from Aspen, went to New York to open Chef's Club New York. After that, worked at a bunch of different bars doing consulting with some amazing New York bartenders, and then joined Maison Premier as a bartender there around like 2015, 16, until 2017 and a half, where I joined William Grant & Sons as the East Coast ambassador from Sailor Jerry, which we're all familiar with. And then from there, I had a lovely opportunity to launch Fistbull Bourbon. And here we are.
It's such a great story. I love that.
I got one more. This is very embarrassing, but I think you'll love this as well. So that 7 and 7 happened on a Saturday night. I didn't go home with my tail between the legs. It was the first time I was bartending. I came up with like $300. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Look at all this money. The next shift was Sunday. And on a Sunday shift, Tomas, the bartender has the whole restaurant. So if someone sits at a table, you have to go out, which I hated because I was protected behind the bar.
Yeah.
Then walking out of the bar, you had to go in front of the guest. 2 things I never did. I never paid attention to the chef when they talked about the food. And I never knew about food. And I just, listen, I winged everything for a long time, and I could figure it all out. So I go to a table, these 2 lovely young ladies say, pardon me, what's the soup of the day? And I'm like, oh man, I heard them say something about chicken. And I go, it's chicken tartare. And she goes, oh, how is that prepared? I go, give me 1 second. Let me ask the chef. So I go over to the owner. I go, hey, Corey, what's the soup of the day? And he's like, it's chicken tortilla. I go, oh, okay. And he must have saw something in my face. He goes, what did you say and who did you say it to? And I said, I told the ladies at table 11 it's chicken tartare. He's like, do you know what that means? I was like, I don't know what anything means. Please teach me. He's like, that's raw chicken. So several lessons I learned by falling on my face, but then, here we are.
And now here you are. Thomas, you were going to add something.
Yes, so it's cool to see that on both sides of this big ocean between us, we have the same story at the end. So stepping behind the bar, try to figure out what we're able to do, what we can do, and mostly learn what we are not able to do and what we can't. And thanks to all our faults, we are on this position we are today. So
exactly. You guys are both, you both did all right. You figured it out in the end and you got there. I mean, it's a life lesson I teach my daughter. And like, sometimes you just have to wing it, but you have to put the effort in to figure it out as fast as you can before somebody else figures out that you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. I mean, they call it failing upwards sometimes, but listen, if you don't fail and take your bruises, 2 things: you'll never know what that feels like, and you'll never learn from it. So I'm very happy with my tainted past.
Yeah, so learning by success is quite nice, and I love to. But at the end, learning by yeah, by failing, it's much better, and it will
It
help
always
you.
can be. I mean, I became the head mixologist for Diageo, not knowing how to. I never worked behind a bar. I just figured it out, and I learned how to make drinks. You know how many bad drinks I made people? It was really bad for like 2 years. And thankfully, nobody seemed to notice. It was like they were just good enough, and all the bars I went to present, they were much worse than I was. So anything above that was good.
But you have a great personality, and when I was a bar director, so I oversaw a few restaurants and their bars and a bunch of employees, and I said, listen, anyone can make a great drink, anyone can make a crappy drink, but if you have a good personality, you'll get a lot farther. Because if you make an amazing drink, but you're just kind of cold and nasty, you might have one and leave. But if we get along, you're at the bar, we have a great conversation, and you give me a mojito without sugar by mistake, I would be like, no problem. Here, give me another, give another try. Well, personality wins everything and trumps everything, I believe.
I'm sure, Thomas, I know in Germany, I'm sure it's, I mean, I'm assuming everywhere in the world that's universal. It's about having that personality and getting people to like you.
Pardon?
In everywhere in the world, we were talking about like personality is probably key. And that's probably one of the biggest things, becoming a great brand ambassador as well. It's like people need to like you.
Yeah, so this is, at first it's people's business. So I'm really, really thankful that I have maybe one of the best spirits in the world. So, but it's the personality behind the people that producing it, the people behind the brand, the production, and behind the guys who are selling it. So it's all about personality.
It really is. It's all about connection. All right, like get a question, because I want to get into. We talked about what you were doing, so the one thing we didn't talk about is why did you make the leap? Thomas, what about like the job really appealed to you, like jumping into the brand ambassador world, or it was just like, it seems like a job. Let's just roll in. I can do that.
So I'm pretty sure that you're not able to do this job, totally unimportant for which brand and which market, if you're not fell in love with the brand and with the way of living. So being a brand ambassador or client director or so on, so it means a totally different way of life from my personal point of view. So you spend a lot of hours and days on the highway or at the airport or at the train station or in between. So you slept a lot of nights alone.
Yeah.
So you're more in contact with some people from the hotel scene than with your girlfriend or with your mother and or with your pets at home. So you have to love it. So it's not a job just to do. So for me, it's the most important aspect for me personally to do this is to have a fantastic product with a fantastic heritage and a lot of great stories to explain and to sell and to talk about and to educate people. Because honestly, from the base of my heart, my idea is that I can do with training and with education on beverage every day this world a little bit more better. Because if you it's my personal idea. So if I explain people, okay, this is a specific point on French spirits, French wines, French cuisine. So and if the people fell in love with the French culture or with the German one or wherever it comes from, those people be able to be bad people. So to be a-holes and say, I don't like French things. Because just by talking about good stuff from good places all over the world.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I do definitely know people just don't like French people, but I'm like, you can't not like what French people make. They make good clothes, they make great fashion, they make great food, they make great spirits. Like there's just they I can indulge in all things French and makes me a very happy person.
I have a funny little French story, Tomas, which you probably like. When I opened the first bar program in Miami, the head chef, Didier Elena, 26 Michelin stars, worked with Ducasse, all his staff was French. And I'm a Jersey guy. I didn't speak any French, but I knew Anthony in French was attends. So the first couple of weeks, I'd be behind the bar, and all I would hear is these servers running around going, attends, attends, attends. And I'm like, what? What do you want? Realizing they're actually saying, one day the chef goes, attends means wait. I was like, these guys are making me crazy.
I actually, go ahead, Thomas.
But it's cool to start into a new world and to discover a lot of things from a different country, from a different culture, just by eating their things, drinking their wines and spirits. And this is a kind of training how to culture transfer. And yeah, this is one of the most important things I want to do. This I want to work in this industry to make this world better by make people possible to drink better, to eat better, to understand the culture behind the products.
No, which I love. And I'll give you one brief. I worked at Le Bernardin for a while. I created the very first beverage program they ever had. I met Eric. What's his last name? Rebier? No.
Yeah.
Eric.
Repair.
What?
Repair?
Yeah, Repair. God, he's so handsome. Anyway, but I met him, and he didn't have a beverage program, and we were talking, and I was like, I could create your beverage program, and I work for Diageo, so I could do it for free. And he was like, okay. So they didn't really have a bar, so and they didn't even, but we created a beverage. We created some cocktails. He wanted to test them out, so the wait staff were hand selling them at the table. We had like 4 drinks, and they were like telling them these are our drinks, and they never had cocktails before. But if you've ever been to Le Bernardin, nobody there's most of the waiters are from some other country, and they're from all over the place, and they have very heavy accents. And so I was working in the back with the wine guy with the somm, and making the drinks because I'm not at the front bar, and the wait staff would come in and they're also ordering wine from me. I can't understand anything that they're saying to me. I mean, because their accents are and I'm from Staten Island, so you're a Jersey guy. I'm from Staten Island, so it's completely going over my head. And also I got bananaed. So banana, when you're in Le Bernardin, if you make too much noise, they go banana. So every time I shook a drink and I hit my chin against the bar, they would start banana. I would banana it all night. So, but I did appreciate the fact that I made their very first cocktail program, and it ran. I got to work there for almost like 2 or 3 weeks. Like we had it like testing out, and they used it for, I don't know, until they finally built a bar. But it was a lot of fun. But anyway, we digress. Sorry. I realize not going live, it makes me go on tantrums. All right. So the one thing I want to talk about, because it's something everybody has, is that when you become a brand ambassador, you transition from whatever job you had before, and now you're in this role that's so unique, right? And every company is different. Every role is different, and it has a lot of challenges, right? So, people talk to me about like they weren't used to being on a schedule, to organization, to Tomas. I know you talked about the learning about luxury. So I'd love to hear like what was one of your challenges that you had to overcome. And the reason why I asked this question is because, as I said to both of you gentlemen, this is a best practice show, and people have a lot of fears as brand ambassadors because they don't see people often, and they're always thinking that it's just them that's thinking this problem. Like I have this, like, oh my God, like I must be an idiot. I'm suffering from whatever this is. So, especially imposter syndrome, that's a big one. So Thomas, what was your challenge? Like when you took over this role, and I know you expressed to me a little bit yesterday about learning luxury. That was not a language you didn't have all the facts about, or it wasn't something you were as comfortable with as you are now. Or my
I think before learning about categories and thinking on the brand, the most important challenge and the most biggest challenge is to decide, is the brand that offers you this job, this position, is this the correct brand for you?
Yes.
Because many people, I saw a lot of brand ambassadors, and I thought, well, I don't know if you fit to this brand, because some are really loud, and you need a little bit more sophisticated for this brand, or vice versa. You need to be loud, and you need to be a little bit aggressive in the market, and we are pretty shy people. So I think at first the biggest challenge is this a brand that fits to myself, to my personality, to my way of life? So you can't be working for Louis XIII if you be extraordinarily loud and with in London East End accents. No, tattoos are quite fun. Tattoos are really quite fun. So, but also you can't work for. So you're not able to work for Fernet Branca if you be a shy boy. So it has to. It must fit. So and this is for me the biggest challenge at first.
Mm-hmm. And what did you
And
have
that,
to learn about the luxury world that you had to, you mentioned something yesterday about learning like references, that you could speak to, because when you're having conversation with your clients, there are things they're talking about and you have to be very familiar. So what are some of the things that you had to like
yeah, this
familiarize
is
yourself with?
good point. So of course, so when before I knew about some luxury brands. So all the luxury brands everybody knows about. So Louis Vuitton, Rolex, all this stuff. But honestly, Patek Philippe, yes, I had okay, it's a watch brand, but what's behind? So you have to discover a complete new universe of brands, of way of living. Of course, yeah, I know about the three-star Michelin restaurants and all these things, but all the small details in this business is you have to learn,
Yeah.
and also the way to speak. So the wordings, the right wordings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to say, "Come on, mate, let's have a drink." No, it's not Louis XIII. That's fair. It's 40.
No, I think that's a big thing. And so how did you learn? Was it just trial and error, or did you
Both
courses
is
or?
the trial and error definitely, because you have to understand. Okay, you have to see how people react if you talk to them. How do you talk to them? Do they like it, or don't they like it? So, and you have to listen to other people. So I think learning is not only reading and trial and error. Learning is a lot of listening. So for me, it's important to understand that there must be a reason why we have two ears, two eyes, but just one mouth. So
No, I think
seeing, listening.
that's a great point. You really do have to learn and listen, but you have to put the effort in to understand that's the world that you're going to be living in. So there's certain references, like you need to be comfortable walking down the Champs-Élysées, and know what those particular brands are and why that's important to them. So I'm sure you have to make references to those brands sometime. Like this is, this cognac is, it's not just cognac. It's, and you compare it to something that they might be wearing, that fancy watch or their car. This is the Rolls Royce but a very specific Rolls Royce, not just Rolls Royce.
It's more than just a brand. It's a kind of lifestyle.
That lifestyle. And for you, Anthony, what were your challenges when you first came onto the role? Because there's a lot of people when you first come on, it's, adjusting to a new lifestyle.
So when I first became an ambassador,
yes.
or
yes,
yeah, so yeah, like you said, I mean, I was working at Maison Premier, and we just won a James Beard Award, so it was like a gigantic, huge deal and a huge honor to be even nominated, but also to win. And I think that was like 2016, and then from there, I think 2017. I always was a fan of the William Grant & Son portfolio and their ambassador program. So being in the restaurant and the bar industry, they were my friends, and I always joke. They were like, "Hey, if you ever want to become an ambassador, you got to join us." And eventually, around 2017, the East Coast ambassador for Sailor Jerry left. So I had the opportunity to join. So I joined, and for me, it was like I traveled a lot as a bartender, but I knew bar structure and I knew how to work with brands coming to us. But working with Sailor Jerry, it was kind of getting shot out of a rocket ship. It's like, boom. First week of the job, I'm in Amsterdam, doing like a keynote speak. And like, I had tattoos. I knew about kind of lifestyle. Sailor Jerry was such a lifestyle brand, but you're thrown out there, and you're the face of a brand. So, like we say, fake it till you make it. But there was a huge learning curve to study because, especially in the rum category, I mean, it's all history. And then with Sailor Jerry, it was maritime history, Navy history, tattoo history. So you're as the focus or the spokesperson of anything, people are going to you for the information.
Yes.
So you always want to have good privy information, and never be afraid. One of my biggest rules is being humble. Never have diarrhea of the mouth. Which sometimes I do, but it's like people are going to you for information on the brand history. And Sailor Jerry was such a lifestyle-driven brand for the last 20 years. It was already a moving ship, so I had to hop on that ship and just kind of invoke the whole brand. So, just my biggest challenge was studying and learning history, right? Like for the first 6 months. And I felt like I did not know what I was doing until the first year. A good friend of our team, Charlotte Boise, still to this day, I always say, "Hey, listen, I'm new. I don't really know what's going on." because for the first year and a half, I was like, Charlotte, I'm new. I don't know. And like, you don't realize how much information you're retaining that you have, because you always feel like you have to learn more and more until you actually stop and talk to somebody and you're like, the information flows out. You're like, okay, I know what I'm doing.
I know it. I know that feeling when you suddenly realize like, oh, actually there's a lot in my head that I didn't even realize because I never had to say it out loud. And then you also realize some lessons that people have told me. It's like, you don't really need to know as much as you think you have to know. Like, because a lot of times, like if with consumers, you're saying what you want, you can tell consumers almost anything. You should tell them the truth, obviously. And it's a trade that's usually when you really want to make sure you're being very, very specific. But a lot of times they don't nerd out as much as I used to be so afraid they were going to call me out on something. And then I realized, it's the worst fear. I don't know, Tomas, if you're about the fear, but the fear of presenting to the trade was something I was like, they're going to know that I don't know as much as they know when I give this presentation. And oh my God, it's going to be embarrassing. And then I realized afterwards that usually never happens. Once in a while, Don Lee would call me out on my stuff, and he's the uber nerd. But Thomas, I mean, do you ever have that fear of presenting in front of trade?
Of course. So imagine I was born in 1984, so I'm not that old man with a lot of experience by age. So when I start in my first ambassador role for whiskey, I was N20, and with N20 you stand in front of a crowd of old men. So all of them minimum 50 years old. That means that they all minimum drink whiskey for 30 years. And I have to explain them things about whiskey, about distillation, fermentation, maturation. And I say, okay, guys, there are 120,000 years of whiskey drinkers in front of me. Okay, let's do it. But yeah, this is a fear, but you have to challenge it. And at least there's one tip I got a long time ago from a guy from Berlin, Mike Meinke. He said, well, it's quite easy to be successful. Know your product and know your technique.
Mike, that sounds like Mike. I know Mike.
Yeah, I
guess. I mean, like, know your product and know how it's made. The technique, like how it's made. Is that what he's talking about? Technique.
That's it.
And because nobody will know your brand as well as you do.
Exactly.
That's the one thing I learned. I would go up and be at the bar, and I'd be like, and they'd be like, I'm working with Bullet Bourbon, and they would say, I was like, oh, you know everything about bullets. I'm not going to tell you that much. And then I started realizing they didn't actually know anything about bullet. They knew about bourbon, and they were experts in that, but they didn't know how my brand was made, like the brand I was working on. And then I realized, like, oh, okay, I do have stuff I can explain to you, like I can talk to you about, because you are not an expert on my specific brand. You're an expert maybe on the category. And that kind of gave me a leg up. Like, then I felt more confident when I was speaking.
And also just like repetition, Elaine, the more bartenders you talk to, you find out what they actually need to know. And then you start kind of sharpening your stone. You're like, okay, this is my angle, how I'm going to speak to them right now. Because everyone's different. You might talk to a bartender who doesn't know what a mash bill is versus they want to know what, degree it comes off the still. And you're like, all right, knowing your personnel is, I think, a big asset to have.
It's a big skill set to do. Thomas, you're going to say something?
But I think you have to manage the information you gave to the people, not to be safe or to be better and smarter than them. More, so you have just a tiny amount of minutes or 1.5 hours to teach them. So I guess, Anthony, you are able to talk about minimum 3 hours of your brand, of the production, specific for yours. So, and me as well. So I think you have to think about, okay, on which status the people are, what can I explain to them? Mm-hmm. And for cognac, honestly, in Germany and Austria, I have to start from 0.0 often. So cognac, okay, it's a French brandy. Thank you. That's it. Honestly. So, but it's quite funny when I fly the first time to cognac a couple of years ago. I met a guy from the United States. We're waiting at the airport in Berlin, and it was a catastrophe time. So we wait a long time, and he's reading me a paper in English, and he directly told me, "Man, at home, never this would happen." So I say, stop, this is my home. So I'm the German one in our discussion. Okay, and we start to discuss about it, and he asked me, where are you going to? And I said, cognac. Oh, cognac, yeah, now about. I always have a bottle of brand name XYZ at home. But that's it. So they have no idea about cognac as well. They know some brands, and not only in the United States, also mostly in Europe, because or in Germany and Austria, they know the brands, they love the brands. But you have to start from point zero to explain what's a specific thing. So it's made in one region, and what is the specific thing behind this region? Why is cognac only be able to do there? So and I think that's the same with some different whiskey, some bourbon, for example, or tequila. All we know the most people knows about tequila that makes headache.
Yeah, I mean, in America, yeah, but most people do. I mean, it also must be nice though that nobody's coming in there with preconceived notions of what it is, so you can kind of start them from scratch. Like, let me give you an education. Are people pretty open to it?
After a couple of minutes, yes. The first idea is okay. This is a young guy who wants to explain me something about the spirit my grandfather loved.
Gotcha. So they're not really into cognac. So you have to win them over to actually listen.
We have to deduct a little bit the category, but it's really great and cool to work for Louis XIII at this point, because we are not only talking about cognac. So we can play two games in 1 minute. So we can play the cognac game and we can play as well the Louis XIII game. So
you say the Louis XIII game? Is there a game that goes with cognac? What's the Louis XIII game?
So we can start to explain Louis XIII is a cognac, or we can start to explain Louis XIII as Louis XIII. So the brand and the spirit everybody knows, especially when you saw the movie Cocktail with Tom Cruise. So.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Only the older ones knows the movie, not the younger ones. Unfortunately,
yeah, I remember that part when he brings out the bottle right before he kills himself, and that's but, yeah.
$900 or $800.
Yeah, that the
long time ago.
Well, I was gonna say, I would love to also talk about Thomas, to continue the conversation about, because I thought it was really fascinating. I didn't know this about the off-premise market in Germany, and Anthony, I thought you'd find this interesting too, because it's very different than it is here. So can you give us a little details of what's different between Germany and the United States?
I think the first big difference is that you can do everything you want, at least. So you can open a store, buy some decanters, some bottles of spirits and wine, and say, okay, this is a chemist, it's a wine store or a spirit store. Everybody can do this, and you can buy wherever you want. So you have no monopoly. You can buy directly from the producer. You can buy from some wholesalers. You can go to some traders. Also, you can go to abroad, to other countries. So this is, I think, one of the biggest challenges and difference between Europe and the United States. I'm not that firm in spirits law of the United States, but I think you are only able to sell from state to state. So you have to
it's changing, but it is changing. You're able to but you have to go through a distributor no matter what. So it's always a 3-tier system. So there's always 2 layers in between you and the person who produced it. Has to go through a distributor, and then you can buy it. So you can't just buy directly from the producer.
So in Germany or in Europe in general, we are faced with cross-border trading. So some resellers, some cavers offers decanter coming from Italy or Spain or Netherlands. So this is the toughest challenge to check your and control your market. And
right.
This is the business aspect of being a client director, not
only. They can buy Louis XIII from people outside of Europe. They can buy the decanter outside of Europe from other resellers.
Is theoretical, yes, but this won't make sense. So because you have to pay taxes and all that will become much more expensive. But inside of Europe, it's an issue. So it's a business issue.
Yeah, but I also tell you, because the one thing I found really fascinating yesterday as well is that the fact that Germany, I didn't know this, just has whiskey shops. Like your off-premise accounts are just whiskey.
Yes, mostly. Most spirit stores focus on whiskey. So you find 500, 600 different single malts from Islay. No, just kidding. But yeah, focus on whiskey. If you have 1,000 bottles in a store, 800 will be, or 700 will be whiskey. 680 will be single malt. 5 will be blended, 2 will be bourbon, 1 rye, and then half of something whatever. A lot of gin, a little bit of rum, but mostly whiskey. So the Germans love whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Anthony, you were telling me yesterday, there's like all these shops all over the place. There's just only whiskey, like all over Germany. Like they don't sell anything else, and there's only very few stores that, like you're saying, they're popping up now where they have a variety of stuff. Which, so as a whiskey guy, you'd be killing it there, but as a cognac guy, it must be a big challenge.
Yeah, but I love challenges. So as we agreed, so learning by success is quite easy.
That is very true. All right, so the one thing you talk about, and something that you guys both mentioned to me yesterday, is that in order to be really successful, you really do need to streamline your efforts, and you have to have an effective account strategy, right? That's really necessary in order for you guys to succeed. So, what are some of the ways? And Anthony, I'll start with you. You prepare to go into a market to make sure you get the most out of your visit. And then what information do you particularly use to narrow down which accounts are the right ones for your brand? I mean, Anthony, you have a lot of competition out there being an American bourbon, but how do you prepare to go into a market and getting the most out of it? Because it's a challenge for everybody, especially when you're challenging going to different markets.
Yeah, and so like me and my boss, my brand manager, we come up with our on-premise and off-premise strategy, because even though my focus is on the on-premise, the bars, I still do trainings and tastings and help our distributor partners sell to the off-premise and liquor stores. But we generally keep 10 target markets throughout our continental United States, and then break them down. Our strategy is, where are we going to showcase best? You know what I mean? Because, for example, the amount of money you spend in New York City versus somewhere in Idaho, I can throw events for 3 months in Idaho for the same cost I would throw one event in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So brand planning and brand strategy, coming up with our target markets. They're doing construction right now. I'm not sure if you can hear this.
Nope.
Perfect. Only I can hear it. So generally we pick our top 10 target markets, see where, we take all the data and analytics of where we can showcase best. And then when I personally go into a market, depending on our distribution and internal partnerships, we have some people called the OPSs, which are on-premise sales specialists. We have our area manager and our district managers. So I like to hit 3 main things when I go to market. One is meet with the distributor partners. So if I can take all the distributors to lunch, talk to them, do a staff training, just find out what's going on, because they're our biggest adversaries.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be everywhere. Our sales rep can't be everywhere. Our distributor partners who sell maybe 500 SKUs of American whiskey, we go back to making sure someone likes you again, make sure you're keeping that relationship alive. So key number 1, most important, is get in front of distributors, whether you need training, tell them what new activations you have going on, whatever you have down the pipeline, keeping them in the know and abreast, because they're getting hit from a lot of different, portfolios of what's going on. And then working with our sales specialists to talk to them, update them what's going on, and then going to all the bars who obviously showcase our product, spending a little money, saying thank you, doing staff training for them as well, and just building those relationships alive. And then in the off-premise, I always like to go with our off-premise specialists, and then go with hit different liquor stores to help sell them in, because those whole folks who sell in the off-premise are so based on kind of relationships.
Yeah.
Where they can walk into on a liquor store and just be like, hey man, I need this bottle in there. But to utilizing our ambassador program to help them sell is kind of a big asset. So we go in there, kind of add a little bit more muscle to talk about, direct knowledge to them, and, help them push cases. So on-premise, off-premise, and distributor partners, that's like our...
No, I love that. I think that's a great 3 formula. But you also, you mentioned something to me as well from yesterday about getting some data to making sure if you're going in, you're going to the right account. So what kind of data do you get?
So data is actually huge, because I cover, the whole country, and I think we have 3 million bars, right? So if I'm in South Florida, by the way, where am I going and why am I going? So working with the on-premise specialists, they'll tell me, here's my top 10 accounts. Cool. So I use a system, it's called VIP. It's an online platform which openly shares current data on every bottle of Fistbull, or 9-liter case of Fistbull. So I can, before I go to, say, Pensacola Beach, Florida, I'll know top 10 liquor stores, top 10 bars. But then I can break that data down and say, Joe's Pub bought 49-liter cases, but they stopped buying them. That's a red flag for me. So I need to make sure that, because sometimes maybe the sales reps doesn't want to show you that place because something happened, but like going there with knowledge to our sales reps, because you don't want to be the ambassador personally to just show up and be like, take me around. Cool, let's go spend some money. It's like, hey, here's my list. These people fell off. Why do they not sell it anymore? We should go talk to them. Sometimes because the reps are so busy, they might not even know that. It hasn't been flagged. So getting all that data and saying, here's my list of where I want to go. They're even showing, okay, this ambassador cares about us, cares about his job, and is not just making me do work for him. He's working with us. So it's a big point.
I love that. I love the fact that you're coming kind of already geared with all the information you know and bringing something to their attention. And to your point, they might not know it. Or yes, I've definitely have had the sales reps hide things from me and only take me to their top accounts. But meanwhile, there are other ones that might have some problems, and that's what I'm there for. I should be able to fix it. So that's a great point. I love that system.
Like when you get into town, it's like make the most of it. So it's usually standard for me, like a 3-day market visit, 1 day on premise, 1 day off premise, and then 1 day distributor meetings. But it's like pack me in, with 15 accounts a night, plus distributor lunches and dinners, and if we can do a little activation, it's like we want to make sure our useful is because we, as an ambassador, maybe I'll hit that market maybe 2-3 times in a year. So it's like let's make the most of it.
Yeah, no, I love it. So and Thomas, you have something, a product that's such a niche product. It's such a niche. You have a very specific clientele. So I know you had to do really intense research to make sure you're going to the right places. So tell me some of the things that you do.
At the end, it's the same that Anthony do. So at first I have an idea. So at first I checked the places, the cities where I have to go. We did some research where the money is located in Germany and where the tourists are going to. And then we decided, okay, we did define some focus cities. So the first and important thing I had to learn, and I learned, was something my boss, my manager, always repeat to me and say, Thomas, trust me, you can't be everywhere. You have to understand that you are not able to be everywhere. So make a clear plan, a clear strategy. And we focus for the first fiscal, we focus 4 cities in Germany. So for example, we say, okay, this city, this city, this city, and this city. And if there's a demand, or if there is a client who asks me for a training, I will go to the other spots as well. But we have to focus to be good and to be client centric. And then I go for the first time to a city, and I have an idea. So I do research at home. And thanks to COVID, I had a long time to do research. And first thing is quite easy. Check all 5-star superior hotels. Go by yourself at Guide Michelin and check all the 2-star, 3-star restaurants. Check TripAdvisor. Check all the platforms, and then you have a universe, and you say, okay, this is, for example, Munich, and I have, let's just make it 150 or better 50 possible accounts. So this is my idea. This is my roadmap, 50 accounts. But as Anthony said, so I will be for 3 or 4 days in the city for every 2 months. So 50 accounts is a big rush. So and then I start to discuss with our distributors, with the sales rep of them, and say, okay, this is my idea. What's about your idea? And then we have dinner or lunch, and we discussed about that. At the end, we have maybe 20 or 25 accounts. We agree from both sides. So my idea, his or her idea, and they say, okay, let's start with this, let's start with that, and go there and go there. And say hello, introduce yourself. And for me, it's really important. I'm not able to go into a restaurant or in a hotel and say, hi, my name is Thomas, and do you know about Louis XIII? So I have something. Isn't able. So, and yeah, we did it yesterday. So imagine a brand ambassador will step into your bar on Friday night, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Let me introduce. I have a fantastic new gin I want to present, I want to discuss. Can you do some signature go leaf?
Yeah.
It's something that deals with respect. So, and it's really important to make an appointment. Of course, when we talk about specialists, so cavist spirit stores, you can go there. You can say, well, is it okay? Do you have maybe 10 minutes? I just wanted to talk to you to introduce myself, use my business card. Well, let's have a chat later or send us an email. But yeah, structure. Go there. Why and why not?
But also,
And
you have a very specific way of narrowing because not everybody can carry Louis Trey, right? So Louis Trey is a, I mean, it's a $3,000 bottle or euros of cognac. So, how do you decide if an account is the right fit for Louis Trey's?
You
so
mean you can't call? You can't cold call with Louis Trey? Just walk into a pub and be like, "Hey, do you guys want to buy this bottle?"
Yeah, exactly.
so quite easy. So quite
Around?
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say face shots, but that's not Louis XIII. So we have to separate extremely strong, and we have to decide is it a Louis XIII store or place or not. So in hotellery and gastronomy, it's a little bit more tougher, but at the end more easier. I can check the standard regular things, so stars, all these things, 5 star, 4 stars. Okay, does it work? Yes or no. Then I check the room prices. So what's an average price for a room stay? So, just for an example, if a room stay will be charged with €700 per night, and this is quite easy. For example, if we go to Mandarin Oriental, so really easy. It's not the most expensive one. They will be able to offer Louis XIII to their clients, to their guests. If there's a 5 star hotel that offers a room for €80 or €100, so no chance, it won't be in Louis XIII account. That's the first aspect. So then I go for the second view to the wine menu, to the price list of the restaurant. So what is the price for the three-course dishes, a three-course menu, or what is the average wine price? So do we talk about an average wine price on the menu about €20, or do we talk about €50, €70, €80? Can we see some other big brands like Mouton or like Domaine Romane Conti or Crystal or Dom Perignon? So if this is an outlet that offers this style of brands, this kind of brands, they will be able to sell Duitras, to offer it, because they have the clients. They have the clients that looking for sophisticated products, special products, unique spirits and wines. This is one aspect. And for off trade, it's a little bit different. So best example today. So I love. By the way, you have to come to Vienna. Do it. It's fantastic. It's my third time, and I felt in love with my first visit. And here in Vienna is something. It's called Naschmarkt. It's like a food court and public food court. We have a lot of small, tiny not as local foodstuffs, some wine, some cheese shops, and there's a cheese shop.
Right.
So we sell cheese. So they say, okay, cheese on the market sounds not that typical Louis XIII way. But then you go there and you see, okay, they showcase empty Mouton Rothschild, Decanter, Opus Ones, and all so on. And there are people there going there, buying their cheese. And there's the most important people from Vienna. So the politicians, the artists, movie stars. If they are in Vienna, they go to this guy and say, "How are you? Let's have a white wine or red wine from all over the world." And so this is a place for Louis XIII, maybe. So we have to check, we have to see. But it's so I think you need a lot of experience to separate the potential outlets from the outlets that won't work.
No, that makes sense because I think you have to be. I mean, obviously, it's such a niche product, but knowing what to look for, I think, is very key for account strategy. Like for Anthony, you not to waste your time, or Thomas, you not to waste your time in the wrong accounts. And I think a lot of brand ambassadors spend a lot of time roaming around or trying to sell into the wrong places when they don't know it's the right fit, and because they don't know what to look for and how to narrow it down, or what should they look like for on the menu. And it's like, is this the right fit for my brand? Why is it the right fit for my brand? And I think it's important for brands to give them that structure as well. But you need to do that research for yourself, and having those parameters will help narrow it down. Because you said you have limited time and budget as well. Like, where should I be spending my time and money? Yes. Anthony, you're a bourbon, so how do you narrow it down?
There's a big misconception of I do American whiskey, but it's like, I don't want to be in a whiskey bar. I don't want Fistbull of Bourbon. I want it everywhere, obviously, but I don't want Fistbull of Bourbon to be on a back bar with 500 American whiskeys. because the percent chance of any bottle getting pulled, unless it's a bartender's pick, you're not going to move volume. So kind of, the idea and the brand lens for Fistful of Bourbon is beer in a shot, high volume. This is your house old fashioned whiskey. This is your beer in a shot whiskey. So that bottle's constantly getting pulled. It looks great in the back bar, but our whole idea is menu placement and move cases. So I not laugh sometimes, but and it's kind of our point to speak with the local salespeople to make sure they know where we want to spend our time and our money, because like sometimes they'll be like, hey, I got you in this great whiskey bar. That's awesome. It's gonna be in the back bar, but we all know, like, if unless it's on a special there, like there's such a rare percentage that any bottle is going to be pulled on the regular. So I try to focus on high volume accounts. That's kind of the idea.
No, I think that's very smart. And getting menu plate. So is a beer in a shot is your Boilermakers are your strategy on menus?
No, my personal favorite, or for our brand strategy?
Yeah. What's your personal?
My personal favorite, like Tomas said, over the pandemic, sit behind the computer, talking to people, doing all of our brand presentations and cocktail ideas. I love the highball, just simple, two ingredient cocktail. And I learned through my my work history in great cocktail bars is simple ingredients based on proper technique. Mm-hmm. So the proper way to build a highball, that Japanese, more ritualistic style, will kind of reinvoke and change the whole flavor profile, but where, albeit a very simple cocktail from the dirty 70s, scotch and soda. But I just like simple stuff, but proper technique.
I love that. All right, so I think you're right. It's proper technique will change anything. I've had gin and tonics, and I've had gin and tonics. Like I've had really amazing gin and tonics, and maybe the same ingredients, but just that proper technique of how they put it together, it can make all the difference.
Talk about whiskey in a whole. It's all made from the same stuff. Different technique makes better whiskey.
It's so true. All right, let's talk about something fun, but I was gonna say also. We talked about a little bit this yesterday. Travel pet peeves. I'm gonna go back to other more serious, but I just want to know, like, just light me up. Like, so I already know one of yours, Anthony, but I'll let you expand on it. Thomas, you have when you are traveling around, and we all have it, like things that just happen, and you're just like, oh my, like just any pet peeve, from airports to planes to anything that's like just like, oh. I hate this so much. Like I love my job, but this did make it so miserable.
So in the first time it were traffic jams. So
yeah.
So we all know about the myth of German highways.
Yeah.
So I guess you heard about it. So I go approx 80,000 kilometers per year by car.
Wow.
So from North Coast to the Alps, from River Rhine to the east. So in the first years, I was really in trouble. No, there's a traffic jam. I'm too late. Stressed myself a lot. And then there was a point that I just started to decide, okay, now my job is really important. And the most important point on my job are my clients, are our clients. And being on point 5 minutes before is showing and presenting respect. But at the end of the night, so what should I say? There's a traffic jam. I can't change it.
Right.
So I can't change the bad mood of the stewardess. I can't change a canceled flight. I can't change a canceled train. So what I can do is try to organize myself and a good communication why I'm too late. So let the people early enough let them know that I will be late. This is fine. But sounds boring, but I did it a long time, so there is no pit leave. So easy. It's traveling.
So now do you just get there the day before, so you don't have to worry about it? If you're late, you're late, because you won't be late because you're already there.
Yeah. I think the best way to talk about this quote, Blues Brothers. So it's 800 miles to Chicago. The car is full. So we have 2 packs of cigarettes, but no lighter. So it's worst case situation. But no, so things happen, and we have to do the best out of it. So,
I hope you at least have a nice car that you enjoy driving.
Yes, of course. So thanks to my fantastic company. So we are not allowed to drive non-electrical cars. So we have to drive electrical cars.
Oh wow.
Minimum plug-in hybrid. So this is a kind of philosophy of Remy control. Sustainability is a big issue for us, a big topic. Yes, I have a BMW. So, and in the first years, I love to drive 200, 220, 250 kilometers per hour. And honestly, sometimes I do it, especially when I go, when I drive through the night and the direction is my own home.
Yeah.
So being fast at home as possible is the most important point. But so yes, it's really stressful to drive a car with 200 kilometers per hour.
Yeah,
So
I can
Is that
imagine.
like 130?
in miles, I have no idea.
It's very fast because if you're on the Autobahn, you can go as fast as you want.
I've been on the Autobahn.
Yeah,
Not everywhere. So not everywhere. We have
Not
a big
everywhere?
discussion about the limit, and even if I go 80,000 kilometer per year, I'm a big fan of this speed limit because it makes everything more easier. So it was
So I apologize. I think when you were saying 220 kilometers, you were talking about the distance, not your speed.
I talk about the speed.
That was the speed.
Oh, okay. That's
He's
pretty
saying
fast, right?
when he's going home. That's his speed.
It says someone has to check what 200 kilometers per hour is in miles. I have no idea.
I'm gonna go and Google. Well, Anthony, I want to hear about because you have I know a thing. You gave me an expression yesterday. I never heard of, which was air. What did you call it? Fleas.
That could be. It's called gate lice.
Gate lice. That's it. Gate lice.
So Tomas, I'm probably on the road anywhere from 220 to 250 days out of the year. Pretty heavy, extensive traveling. I fly. I don't drive. I don't even own a car. But
me neither.
I think, yeah. Coming from Brooklyn for a long time, you never need a car, but now I'm like, yeah, I need a car. But we travel so much, and I think in some aspect, people have a small sense of being inherently selfish a little bit, especially when you get to the terminals. And what I always have to put myself in perspective when I travel is, hey, I know I'm at the airport twice a week, but maybe this person is their only flight their whole year. So they don't know what's going on. They don't know the protocols. And I think that caused a lot of animosity at the airports because maybe 20% of the people know what they're doing. The other 80% are just running around. So
yeah, totally right.
One of my biggest pet peeves is when you get to the airport, and I think this is globally, you have the individual gates, and then they call you by your status. Maybe people with disabilities, and then military, and then first class, second, blah, blah, blah. Maybe a plane fits 300 people. It'll be 15 minutes before we start boarding, and then everyone will just crowd around the gate, blocking the sidewalk, blocking the pathway. You can't get by anywhere in the airport. We call that gate lice. So it's like a bunch of bugs, lice in your hair. Like if you walk by a gate and everyone's just standing around blocking it rather than just sitting and being patient, I'm like, it gets me aggravated. I'm like, why don't you just, no, the plane's not leaving without you. Wait till they call you and then get up. And just the same as that, when you land, as soon as that ding, people will get up and they'll just be standing like this with their luggage. And like, you're sitting there. I'm like, guys, if we be human beings, like first row, you get out, grab your stuff. And then it doesn't make me mad. It just boggles my mind because I've done it before. It's so uncomfortable if you're holding your luggage and you're just kind of sitting there like.
It's not nice, but I love it. And by the way, it's about 140 miles per hour. You're
it's close.
That's good. Wait, you were driving before Thomas. That's what we.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It makes totally no sense. Make it easy. But Anthony, you're totally right. So all the people, minimum 80% have no idea what they're doing on an airport. So, no. but you can train it to be cool and to relax and to think, okay, let's do the business and be cool. You can do it every day in the supermarket. Do you remember today this small child that was crying at the cash?
No.
But guess there was a small child that was crying, I want this, I want this, I want this. And there was an old man saying, well, in former days everything was better. All the people in a bad mood that are going to struggle to. And my idea is always to say, okay, I have no idea what their background is. So what their issues. Maybe they had a really bad day. So just let them be. So I'm the last that will leave the plane. So I always book a window place because I love to watch out. I fly a lot in my life, and
All windows.
every single time when this airplane, even if it's a small one or a large one, start, I think, wow, tons of metals, and it starts so easy. It's for me, it's totally fascinating. I don't know, it's just physics, so and I can explain it, but it's fascinating me. So
And
I get that. I love flying. I don't like the thing that Anthony, I get what he's talking, and I understand the frustration. And I've had to learn to just, find my relaxation place. And I have learned, I denied myself the privilege of being a Delta Lounge because I wasn't traveling a lot and I didn't have access. And this year I was like, nope, I'm just gaining access. Like I'm getting the credit card so I can have it. And it's changed my entire way of traveling because
I saw you in the Delta Lounge, remember?
Yeah, it's right. We met up in the Delta, like accidentally. I was like, whoa, Anthony, because it just now relaxes me. I get to the airport early because I'll just sit in the Delta Lounge. I'll have my breakfast or my lunch and I just kind of chill out and I'm so happy. And it's just, I'm like, I can handle anything. I could just stay in this lounge and then I will leave at the very last minute so I don't have to deal with anybody else. And they're just nice to you. And it just changes. For me, it's changed everything. It just made even the most stressful situations where I've had to miss planes because the connecting flights and whatever, I'm like, it's fine. I'm here. They're so nice to me. I can handle anything.
That would be another pro tip, as if someone wants to become an ambassador to everybody out there, is if you have, like I have the luxury of, I can live anywhere in the country. Obviously, you got to be near a domestic or international airport, but I lived in Brooklyn and it was, anywhere from 45 to an hour and a half to get to LaGuardia. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Any time of the day, it's 15 minutes to get to the airport. With pre-check, I'm in 3 minutes and I'm in the Delta Lounge and it's really figuring out how to reduce those small stressors.
Yes.
Oh, efficiency.
Get your TSA check, get your global access, have access to a lounge. Don't take it. Always carry on rather than if you can avoid it. So you and live at least a half an hour, only a minimum of half an hour or a maximum of a half an hour from an airport. It changes your life. It does, because if you have to fly all the time and that's your stressor, that's a huge stressor every single day. All right, gentlemen, so we're getting there for about an hour, but I want to talk about something. We all have things, because somebody asked me if I could talk about this. They're like, can you get people to talk about things and things have just gone wrong? And it doesn't have to be a fuck up. It could just be like your event just went awry. Like it could just be, and you don't have to admit your own, but I find that I've had things go awry. Like when I ordered 70 liters of, I thought I ordered 70 liters of lemon juice, but I was in Miami. And when you say lemon, you get, or lime, or vice versa, because lemon, it's not lemon. Like I say lemon and they say lemon, and that's lime juice. And for me, I want lemon juice.
Banana? Who said banana?
Yeah. So I suddenly have 70 liters of lime juice when I need 70 liters of lemon juice. And then obviously it's not that big, because a lot of drinks you can kind of switch them if you really have to, but some things it doesn't work very well. But that was like, I remember something like I was in South Beach Food and Wine and there was nothing I could do. I was like, all right, I guess we're using lemon and lime juice, because there was no way for me to get any more lemon juice. The drinks did not taste so good. So Thomas, have you had anything or any epic stories you've ever heard where it was just like, that was funny. That was a disaster. I never want to repeat it, but now I look back, it's really funny.
So you have to know, I'm the German, and we try the German way. We triple check every single detail. This is maybe one of the last parts to be. It's good to be German. You triple check everything.
That's
But
true.
you can't avoid mistakes. So, and a couple of years ago in an old job, we did a tasting. We offered a tasting, and 20 people in front of me, and there was no liquor, no glasses,
Whoa.
because the logistics failed. So. And we
Yeah.
have to improve. So I went to one liquor store and to the other and to the other and to the other, and say, okay, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. Can you give it to me? I will bring it back later. I will send you a new bottle. So,
They actually gave you product. You didn't have to buy it.
yes, because
Wow.
it is cool. If you are a brand ambassador in Germany, especially in this scene in the spirit industry, the people start knowing you. So,
Yeah.
and now from colleagues of mine that they have to sign that they have to design bottles.
Wow.
So, yes, it's insane. So sometimes
Wait, they autograph bottles, like, because people want their autograph on the bottle?
from a brand ambassador, yes.
Wow. To be a brand
Yes.
ambassador, you're famous in Germany. I did not know these
Yeah,
things.
but it's not that cool because also working for Lutrez means I have the big honor to do is to talk about the brand, to present the brand. But there is no 1 milliliter I'm responsible for. So this a lot of the other people did this product, not me. I'm just the guy talking about it, explaining it to you, train you, and bring it to the people. But so as a brand ambassador to sign a decanter, so not for Lutres, but for whiskey, for example, it's not cool. So it's
Yeah, you're like taking ownership of something you didn't create. You're just part of the
You didn't
team.
actually create.
yes.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to feel like that person who's like signing something that is like, I didn't make this. I'm just the spokesperson for it. So
Yes.
yeah, I totally get that. But yeah, I've definitely been in that scenario where I've shown up and yeah, the product not arriving is definitely a common one. I've heard that's happened many times, and like you could check and triple check, but it's sometimes just it's on the truck. Anthony,
What's worse than the product not showing up is the people not showing up. I think
No.
every ambassador, that was my biggest, when I started with Sailor Jerry, I was talking to my mentor, Gravy, and I was like, okay, so we travel, we do parties, like, what happens if I throw a party and no one shows up? He's like, it's going to happen. Like, it doesn't matter how talented you are and how everyone knows you and you have the best, did we lose her?
Yeah, I think so.
Is she still recording or no?
Yeah, let's try. Let's do.
You want me to continue?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, is she coming? Hold on, let's see.
There you are.
We good?
I guess
Yeah.
you have to grab a new beer, right?
Yeah, I might have to grab a new beer, but yeah, I got disconnected. So yeah, did somebody not show up? Like, did you have an event and nobody showed up?
Well, like that was always like my initial big fear of like, well, because you're throwing on, we do a lot of parties over here. I'm like, what happens if no one shows up? That was just like my initial like thought on being an ambassador of like, what could go wrong? Like throwing a party and it's a bomb, no one shows up. That's never happened, but we've had some bad parties in the past, but we've also had some amazing parties. But I would say like coming in, all you guys were bartenders at some time, and I think the bar industry we're built out of pretty heavy resiliency. So we're pretty much big. We adapt and overcome and figure things out on the fly. Because if you ever spend at least a year in a restaurant, once a day something's gonna go wrong. And if you lose your shit and just fold under pressure, this isn't the industry for you. We were doing one of our bigger events this year. It's called Sturgis. It's a motorcycle concert rally in Sturgis, South Dakota. The event takes about 500,000 people. Massive.
Wow.
It's about 12 days long. You know, one of the perks of being the ambassador is I get to go on stage and introduce the bands in front of 120,000 people at a rock concert. It's one of the coolest privileges to do. But so we were doing a photo shoot and a video shoot for all of the social media platforms for the event folks for their social media for all of next year. So it was going to be a big Fistful of Bourbon photo shoot, video shoot. They had, models and motorcycle guys and all this plan. I just had to show up and be myself. Simple, right? this is also living in a trailer on this compound in the middle of this, huge festival. This is like day 9. So everyone's a little haggard. You're a little beat up and tired. It's very dusty, so your throat's a little hurt. So I showed up to the location of the shoot. I'm looking around, and the photographer comes up. She's like, hey, we'll just call him Joe. So Joe's not coming, and he said, figure it out. We don't have any of the staff, the video talent, nobody, no motorcycles, nobody, just me and you. And I got to leave in about 30 minutes, so you got to figure it out. I'm like, because at the end of the day, even though it's not my fault, it's going to be my fault if I don't fix it. It's like, all right, I'm not going to let this be me. So I'm like, okay, I'm on one of the stages, and these festivals, and this is like probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon, most people aren't coming out till later in the night for the music. So pretty much the only people you're going to see is more of the unfathomable, unfavorable people, like kind of the unkempt people living in tents, not the people you want to show on these cool brand reels. So I'm like, all right. I'm like, I see a bunch of people over there playing Frisbee. I'm like, cool. Hey, you guys want to be in a video? Cool, I grab them. I get like maybe 60 people in about 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right. And then I have to like orchestrate this whole video and photo shoot. Like, this is what you're doing. You're over there. You're having a drink. You're having fun. And like, it was just like, it was one of those things that if we didn't figure out, like, we could have gave up easily.
Yeah.
But it was like,
you do have to think. You definitely have to.
You can figure it out.
That sounded almost as stressful as my morning of figuring out my kids' passport today. But no, I mean that's a big part about being a brand ambassador. Like I always say, in a brand ambassador role, you are an event planner. Like nobody tells you that. Like suddenly you become an event planner. Like you suddenly have to manage all these logistics and things that you didn't do. And granted, if you come from the bar industry, you're used to setting up your mise en place, but it's very different because you're managing outside agencies as well, and how you're putting them together, and you're relying on other people instead of just doing it yourself. And that's a massive role that not everybody's good at. But as a German,
they see us and they're like, I want your job, because they see you at a party and all the glory, but they don't see you actually are planning 4 more events that night for the next couple of weeks, and the administrative and the back work, and it's all part of the job. But like, hey man, this is, you can get lost in this job if you're not paying attention and get the party. You keep partying, it's not about the party.
It's not about the party. Thomas, what are you going to say?
All the people see all the Instagram posts and the Facebook posts and the good part of the life being a brand ambassador, but nobody sees the office hours, see the hours where you hang around really, really tired at the airport, or being away from home. So it's that's what I mean.
If
so
you have a family.
Yeah, lugging boxes. Like I stood in South Beach Food and Wine, and I was in Miami. And as you know, Anthony, South Beach, Thomas, all the people who work at hotels are union, so they only work on the most ideal circumstances. Yeah. They don't work very fast because they don't have.
We don't do stairs. No stairs. They won't climb downstairs.
They don't do anything. They don't have to. So I have to prepare for a 700-person party. We are the after party to the Moet barbecue event that happens down there. It's a big Ciroc event that my one client kept insisting we have ice sculptures. I'm like, it's 95 degrees out here. This is the stupidest thing ever. I'm also 7 months pregnant. So I'm 7 months pregnant. It's my last event before I can't travel anymore. I had brought my husband, my then husband, not Philip, my other husband, my ex-husband, with me just to help out. But we have to start preparing for the event. It's drizzling outside, so none of the staff will go outside. Nobody will go outside and start setting up. Now we have 5 bars to set up. We have a grape moshing pit because it's Ciroc, so we have people used to stomp on grapes. So finally, I start carrying cases out of products outside. And I finally stand, and they're all staring at me, and they're like, no, miss, no. And I finally hold it there, and I go, I'm going to give birth right here, right now, if you don't start moving out the door. And I'm standing in the case there, and they're like, oh my God. So it was the only way I had to blackmail them. But nobody sees that part of you. They just see it later on. But yeah, that was one of my crazier ones. Anyway, all right. So last question. All right. So we all learned important lessons in life, right? On the job that we wish somebody had beforehand, right? So if you had any words of wisdom that you wanted to give to new brand ambassadors or fellow brand ambassadors that maybe you wish somebody had told you, or just you just think everybody should know this nugget of wisdom that will just make their job easier and their life easier. Thomas, do you have anything you want to share?
I think the most important point is to structure yourself. So structure yourself, accept that you can't be everywhere. Make a plan, make a schedule, and pay attention about the amount of alcohol you drink.
I think
this is a guy who was 40 when he was 20.
You're like, I aged 20 years because I didn't know that. I think those are really great words of advice, and especially watching, one time Dominic Venegas, who's a brand ambassador, said, I realized I didn't have to drink all the drinks. You don't have to drink all the drinks. Yes. And having a structure is really important. Having an organization, having a plan for your week will just save yourself so much time and stress. I think those are really great points. Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback on Tomas's statement, I think this is one of the best jobs in the world, I think.
Definitely.
If you want to travel, you want to meet people, you love the industry, it's just an amazing gateway to see the world, see your country, meet some of our amazing industry folks. So if you want to take that opportunity, I would say definitely do it. Words of advice, I mean, definitely be humble. You're not going to know everything. You want to learn, and you want to be a good person, because I'll tell you from experience, I don't care what product you're selling. If you're not a good person on my bar, I'm not going to buy it from you, and I'm not going to mess around with you. And that's the reason I joined William Grant & Sons. They have an amazing ambassador program. They were just such great people. I was like, that's a group I want to be a part of. So just, like you said earlier, Tomas, you never know what someone's going through. And I told people this when I was to be the bar directors. You don't know what people's backgrounds are, and maybe they saved all year to come to your restaurant. And how dare you either give them attitude or not give them the best service you can, because they can go anywhere, but they're spending their money and time with you. They might be here visiting a dying relative, or it could be something, not as bad, but you just show the best you can to people, and you'll get a lot back from that.
I think those are lovely words. And I don't say it as gracefully. I just say, don't be a dick, but I just don't. But
always be nice.
Always be nice. Be nice online. Be nice. Don't jump in the mob. Be nice in person, and because those things will haunt you. Haunt you for the rest of your life. If you're suddenly that person, online or in person, your reputation will grow, and people are like, nope, don't want to hire that person, because you know what? I
want
heard
people to talk good about you when you're not there.
Yeah. I heard they're kind of person who's really judgmental, or they jump on bandwagon. So great words of advice. So gentlemen, I know this was a little bit stressful for all of us today, getting on different connections, but and hopefully, I don't know if I started recording at the right time, but so it might start off a little weird. I definitely recorded at least 90% of it. The first 10%, I'm like, I'm not sure if I hit the button the right time. So I'm just winning today in all ways. But thank you. It was a real privilege to get to know you, Thomas. Thomas, I have never met you before, and I've only heard lovely things from Philip. So thank you so much for taking this time. I know it's late there at night. And Anthony, Terry, now I'm going to have to get used to calling you Terry. It's thank you for making it work and dealing with a little bit of craziness today. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you and Thomas and in person one of these days and having a drink. And Anthony, well, actually, I won't see you now for a while because there's no more
we'll cross paths. Come on, we're everywhere.
Okay, fair enough. All right, gentlemen.
I'll be in New York next week.
Oh, cool. I love that. So thank you so much. I'm going to put this up online tomorrow, or maybe today if I have the energy when I get home. And I will hopefully see you guys soon. But thanks again. This is really a pleasure.
Thank you for the possibility.
Thank you so much.
For the chance. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.